God has indeed blessed Africa. Fellow South Africans, as I greet you, the Khoisan are our first defenders. And I am a man of God looking for a person in this planet who can uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic of South Africa and promote the unity of the nation and that which will advance the Republic. As I have mastered the discipline of a naval sword as a peace officer who has problems with justices of peace in the judiciary, these justices of peace are acting in conflict with the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law in our republic. The reality is that I know it, and you must know it to be true, that the President is the head of the state and the head of the national executive, who must uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution of as the supreme law of the Republic, and promotes the unity of the nation and that which will advance the Republic. Powers and functions of the President are as envisaged in terms of Section 84 of the Constitution, which summarily sets out that the President has the powers entrusted by the Constitution and legislation, including those necessary to perform the functions of head of state and head of the national executive. The President is responsible for assenting to and signing bills. In simple terms, he writes the law of the land which I am currently presenting to you right now. And referring a bill back to the National Assembly for reconsideration of the bill's constitutionality, or referring a bill to the Constitutional Court for a decision on bills. It is summarily that the defense force must be structured and managed as a disciplined military force. And to give effect to the principles of transparency and accountability, multi-party parliament committees must have oversight of all security services in a manner determined by national legislation or the rules and orders of parliament. You will understand it to be true that the primary objective of the defense force is to defend and protect the Republic, its territorial integrity, and its people in accordance with the Constitution and principles of international law regulating the use of force. We do have a political responsibility in which a member of the cabinet must be responsible for the defense force. And it is true that only the President, as the head of the national executive, may authorize the employment of the defense force in cooperation with the police service. And only the President, as head of the national executive, may authorize the employment of the defense force in defense of the Republic, as I am doing. You will understand it to be true that the judicial authority of the Republic is vested in the courts. The courts are independent and subject only to the Constitution and the law, which they must apply impartially and without fear, favor, or prejudice. No person or organ of state may interfere with the functioning of the courts. Organs of state, through legislative and other measures, must assist and protect the courts to ensure the independence, impartiality, dignity, accessibility, and effectiveness of the courts. An order or decision issued by a court binds all persons to whom and organs of state to which it applies. And the Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary and exercises responsibility over establishment and monitoring of norms and standards for the exercise of the judicial functions of all courts. It is indeed true that my locus standi is such that since the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act 108 of 1996, is the supreme law of the Republic, and any law or conduct that is inconsistent with it is invalid, and the obligations imposed by it must be fulfilled, and all constitutional obligations must be performed diligently and without delay. Striking this matter from the roll, dismissing it or ordering it not urgent, simply means that reason for law at Section 2 and Section 237 of the Constitution ceases. Cessante ratione legis, cessat ipsa lex. When reason for a law ceases, so does the law itself. Herbert Broom's text of 1858 on legal maxis lists the phrase under the heading Rules of Logic, stating, reason is the soul of the law, and when the reason for any particular law ceases, so does the law itself. In court, before the Pretoria High Court, the first defendant was called for law or conduct to be set aside by the Honorable Court as it is inconsistent with the obligations imposed in Section 237 of the Constitution, delaying diligent performance of all constitutional obligations. And the reality that we have had on 19 July 2023, the matter was issued manually by the registrar owed to the system's unavailability, and on 19 July 2023, the Honorable Van der Westhuizen J at Court 4B made an extempore judgment handed down stating the matter is struck from the roll for want of agency, want of proper enrollment, non-compliance with the provisions relating to the constitutional issues. The applicant is directed to approach the relevant registrar dealing with the enrollment of the application in the normal course of events. And Boga van Zyl sent this from the office of the Honorable Van Westhuizen J, who basically tells you that the Constitution is not the supreme law, and any law or conduct that is inconsistent with the Constitution is valid. And in so doing, all constitutional obligations must not be performed diligently and without delay. All constitutional obligations must be performed with delay in accordance to law or conduct by the Honorable Van der Westhuizen J. Good people, the defense force must be structured and managed as a disciplined military force. Did the Honorable Judge structure and manage the defense force as a disciplined military force? Did that judge comply with the law of the land? What must one do when people do not comply with the law of the land, saying that I want agency, while the following governing principles govern national security in the Republic? In that national security must reflect the resolve of South Africans as individuals and as a nation to live as equals, to live in peace and harmony, to be free from fear and want, and to seek a better life. The resolve to live in peace and harmony precludes any South African citizen from participating in armed conflict nationally or internationally except as provided for in terms of the Constitution or national legislation. National security must be pursued in compliance with the law, including international law. National security is subject to the authority of Parliament and the National Executive. Cessante ratione legis, cessat ipsa lex. When the reason for a law ceases, so does the law itself. Reason is the soul of the law, and when the reason for any particular law ceases, so does the law itself. I am telling you the honest truth that all of you must understand that in doing everything that one has done, we are at the particular end of the road where people in office, in particular public office, who do not comply with the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law must leave office and go directly to jail. For all that has been happening is that the Defense Force has been obstructed to act in accordance with its mandate. I have been caused into neglect, to neglect my own children, to act in conflict with my duty to the Defense Force, while the reality is that the Constitution is the rule, is the supreme law of our land. We do have a reality in which judges do not comply with the law of the land. I do have this particular problem that I must solve in service and defense of you all, your children and their children's children, for generations to come, for all to say in national prayer, let us live and enjoy freedom in the universe, our home. The people that are currently in office and refusing to obey the supremacy of the rule of law and that of the Constitution are busy subjecting all of you to continuously say, let us live and struggle for freedom in South Africa, our land, and directly inconsistent with the obligations imposed at Section 9.2, which provides that equality includes the equal and full enjoyment of all rights and freedoms. We are not here to live and struggle for freedom in our land anymore. In a case where there is no law in our republic, all prisoners must come out of prison effective immediately. In the case that there is a law in our country, all the people that did not obey the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law must go directly to jail from their respective office. That is my command to all of you who live and enjoy freedom in the universe, our home. Those of you who live and struggle for freedom in South Africa, our land, will continue to live a lie that is inconsistent with the obligations imposed by our supreme law. And you will stop sending people that are here to live and enjoy freedom as per the promise of God in his promised land, in their respective home. Stop sending them to jail. For there is no constitution in the Republic of South Africa if people keep on saying that we are going to work not to pay Mangolele his salary. You will call me on 0848359161 if you are a true chief of the South African National Defense Force who functions in terms of Section 14 of the Defense Act and appointed in terms of Section 13 of the Defense Act by the President when you read the Constitution at Section 202. You will understand it to be true that I understand and know exactly what I'm talking about and to who that I'm talking about, General Rozani Mapwanya, including you, Vice Admiral Monde Lobesi. We shall meet in due course in terms of Section 34 of the Constitution and the law at Section 101 of the Defense Act and conduct a board of inquiry in which we will resolve by the application of law a dispute in the DOD PESOL system, and why did it take so long to resolve such a dispute? We are not civilians as soldiers. We will not bow down to the supremacy of civilians who do not respect the rule of law for which we all die for as soldiers. The incumbent Chief Justice Raymond Zondo must go to jail, and subsequently his predecessor must go to jail, or all people that are in jail must come out of jail. It is the law of the land that I defend and protect with my life. I have been in service and defense of my country and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the law since 2003 in January to date. People have only lied to you and say I have been convicted to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 5 years since 8 August 2018. And the reality of the law that is written in the DOD PESOL system as to date is such that the 5 years that is written there is over on 8 August 2023. Pay my money, give me my rights, give my country its freedom, give all people their equal rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the Republic. That any law, know it to be true, that any law or conduct that is inconsistent with the Constitution is indeed invalid, and the obligations imposed by the Constitution shall be fulfilled if you earn a salary from a national government that is sovereign and respects its territorial integrity as envisaged in terms of Section 1 at Chapter 1 of the Constitution. Please kindly learn to pass begin, and let us live and enjoy freedom in the universe, our home. God has indeed blessed Africa. Papa Ote.